Esther comes up, I just wanted to let you know there is a new edition of the Amplifier, our Global Partners newsletter. I thought how appropriate to have that come on the day we have a missionary here. So feel free to pick up 1, 2, 5, 10, however many you'd like. And without further ado, I think you all had an opportunity to interact with Esther before the service, but if not, I am sure you will just love hearing her stories. Esther, would you come share with us, please?
Thank you.
You get water?
I'm good.
Okay, I'll get some insurance.
All right. All right. Well, I am hugely blessed to be able to be with you all today, both here and on Zoom. And it's just such an encouragement to come and be able to share with you about Peru. The pictures you're going to see on the screen they speak for themselves. You can see the different worlds that Peru is. But I'm just going to share with you guys a bit about my experiences there over the last few years. I've been there. My first trip down was 2018. And that was just for a week. I honestly didn't know for sure what God had planned for me. I'd been working with a different mission, and I knew that God wanted me to change and do something different. And he'd been preparing me, but he hadn't told me for what. And the pastor at my parents' church in San Antonio, Texas, kept talking to me about Peru. They really need this other thing we're doing. There's so many good things. The 3 main focuses were sharing the gospel, strengthening churches, and serving communities. And I said, oh, that's so awesome. But it didn't sound at all like something that I could help with. And so it never occurred to me that God would call me there, because my focus was always teaching. And there's no school there. There's no kids programs within the churches. They're fresh, brand new church plants. And so it just never occurred to me. And finally, Pastor Bob, after several conversations with me, said, Esther, plain speaking with you, I think you're the one to go. And that just blew my mind. I was like, what? I for one, I'm more of a indoor cat. Going out into the bush and hacking through the jungle to plant churches and build them from scratch does not sound like something God would call me to do. But God had been talking to me about just saying yes and letting him do the work. And so it came, rubber meets the road. I had to say yes. And I felt a confidence with that, a trust that God would help me with the places and the things that I had no qualifications to do. And over the last 4 years has been true every single day, every single week, every single year. He continues to use me to do things that I would never have been able to do myself. I had no qualifications for. And even the language, for example, I've never had any official training in Spanish. I spoke it a bit, had it in middle school and high school. My parents were missionaries in Bolivia when I was a kid. So I lived in South America, got used to the food, but I was really shy, so I didn't speak a whole lot. And so going down to Peru and being the only American there, the only person who spoke English, was such a big difference, and struggling to speak. And then within the first week, Lucy came, we have 2 pastors, Pastor Lucy and Pastor Jerson, that are locals, and they work with us on these programs year round. I can only go down 6 months out of the year, but they're doing this full time. And Lucy came up to me within the first month of my first 6 months being down there in 2019 and said, what we really need right now, and we think you're more qualified to do than we are, is to start a discipleship class for adults in the 1 evening service a week. Again, mind blown. I'm struggling to speak at all, and you want me to teach theology class to adults? And I say, okay, again, I have to say, yes, God, and just trust him that this is going to work out. I dragged a whiteboard that was a mess and cleaned it up and thought, you know what, if it gets really bad, I can do charades or I can draw it on the board. We're gonna just work our way through this. I spent hours prepping in advance to make sure that random words that I would most likely forget, I had them down on a list so that I could just look there and be like, oh yeah, that's the word I wanted. And I still knew, even with all of that prep, that this was gonna be a tough class. And it was basic biblical information. It's not like I was trying to teach high-level theology, just open the scriptures and go through a passage. I think I had picked the sower for our first one, going through and talking about the parable and just pulling it apart and talking about it. And that was an easy one. I was drawing pictures on the board, we were doing things, and I got partway through a sentence after I'd been working from my notes and stuff, and realized as I started the sentence that I had no idea what the last word in the sentence was going to be. I knew it wasn't what it was in English, but I had no idea what that word was in Spanish. And I'm literally praying as I speak and as I do the part of the sentence that I do know how to do. God, I need your help on this one because I don't remember it. And I really need this word because I can't draw it and I can't act it out. And it's not right here in the scriptures where I can just point it out. And literally, as my mouth started to open up, I'm just going to do an here because I don't know the word came out that I needed. And it was like a click, that's the right word. And it came out at the moment I needed it. And I thought, I am so glad people are praying for me here in the States because that is a God moment. I really encourage you guys. Your prayers make a difference, and that's just one small example. I was praying in the moment, yes, but when you guys lift me up in prayer every single day, it makes a huge difference. For any missionary you pray for, any person you pray for, you lift them up to God, and He will do miraculous things to honor your prayers. So, talking about the different, sharing the gospel, visiting churches, and working with these people. The reason we are working through locals and partnering with locals is because they are much more accepted in these communities. This is isolated villages in an area roughly the size of Texas. They have 2 hospitals in the entire district. Think about that. It's like Texas with 2 hospitals. No roads, because they follow the river in order to get wherever they're going, and there is no money to put in highways. It's a totally different type of life, and in some ways it is very beautiful in its simplicity, but it is very, very tough because these people don't have bank accounts. They don't have money set aside for a rainy day. This is day-to-day life, and anything can affect whether you're going to get food to put on the table tomorrow. You just don't know where it's coming from till that day comes. They literally live day to day, worry about what's going to happen today, and let tomorrow deal with itself every single day. And their parents lived like that, and their grandparents before them, and their children will live like that. That's breeds a hopelessness that affects the entire district to the point where everyone who lives in this district does not want to be there. They would like to move anywhere else. That's the type of hopelessness we're talking about. And it feeds a love of drinking that becomes a problem in the area. Then those people that drink go home and they beat their wives and their kids. And then we have an issue with several types of abuse, including sex trafficking, that has become very prevalent in the area, even though the government does try to cut down on that. There's just so little hope for the future. And what we've found works better than any type of community program is building a central community through the local church, giving them a place that they can go when they're hopeless, giving them a community of people that care enough to help them when they're struggling, and that it's their neighbors. It's not these out-of-towners that are here for a few days and then they go home to their lives and forget about us. These are people that are locals, that know what their life is like, have lived in the same type of life as them. And we are empowering them to go out and build these churches. So Lucy and I, travel as companions, visiting as many villages as we can and supporting these lay pastors, because they're not actually the only person we have ordained in the entire district is Lucy. Everybody else is a lay pastor. They're just starting to learn how to do these things. They have maybe a 4th or 5th grade reading level. There is very little education over 6. If you've made it to 6, that's pretty good. They probably don't even know how to keep time in order to sing a song. So just teaching them how to clap their hands in rhythm so that they can get a beat and sing a hymn is part of what we're teaching these lay pastors to do, to lead their services at home. Opening up the scriptures and helping them learn how to break it into pieces and teach from it. And with very few materials, because in this area, anything that comes in that isn't locally made or created has to be flown in or takes a very long route over the mountains and then by boat into our area. So that means that books are expensive. So bringing in Bibles alone is something that our partnership as the United States, partnering with these pastors that cannot afford anything, we're able to help them. We can help pay for part of constructing their buildings. They put in all the labor. They have the whole community comes together to help build a church. This is not just a couple of people in a village saying, we would like to have you. It's the entire community wanting us to build a church. Bringing in Bibles, and we've got people that are coming saying, please tell me you didn't run out. We want one too. This is the open door that God has offered us for this area. And who knows how long it'll last, how long people will be interested in the gospel. But right now, people want what we're offering. And we aren't even working in villages that don't want us. We have people that are calling Pastor Lucy, requesting aid, requesting visitation, requesting that we start a house church in their home. And we just don't have enough staff to be able to accommodate everybody right now. It's a good problem, but it's still a problem. We're working toward getting to more villages, getting to more churches, but we want to make sure that we're not forgetting about discipleship, about making sure that the churches we've already built are strong and firm, that the core of that church is strong, that it's not just the lay leader, but they have at least 5, if not 10 strong members to back that leader up. And then giving them as many resources as we can so that they can have fulfilling services and grow in Christ, because our goal is to make them the best Christians they can be so that then they can go out and do the same. Sharing the gospel starts with the local people, and as we strengthen them and their churches, we have 2 churches that have started their own daughter churches on their own hook, going out deeper into the jungle than we can easily reach from their village and visiting yet another village and starting a house church there. That is powerful stuff. And this program's only been running for about 20 years. I'm the newbie on the team. Pastor Bob's been doing this for the full 20 years. Pastor Lucy, and he started this partnership then. And Pastor Jerson joined her as her assistant in about 7 years ago. So it's been a real pleasure. It's a small group, it really is. But as each of us does our part to build up and disciple the local people, they're doing so much more than we 4 could ever accomplish. I have been so humbled by their willingness to sacrifice. the fasting and prayer section there is one of those examples. We had people from our Nelta church that wanted desperately to learn more. Nelta Church is one of our biggest churches. It's our main home base, and it's where we've decided to build a Bible Institute, where we can just have everyone from the different isolated villages come in at, we're trying to make it twice a year and receive this particular training so they can go home and share what they learned in their villages. And the people in Nauta didn't just want 1 or 2 services a week. They begged Lucy to start opening the church and having more services. They got to the point where they started doing 6 services a week, and they're all full. People in Nauta want training, they want to learn more. And many of them, especially we have 3 couples that are seriously, prayerfully considering moving from the nicer area of Nauta. It has a little bit of electricity and a few restaurants and a few an open market, which most of the other isolated villages don't, to one of those isolated villages and either opening a church or filling in as a lay pastor for a church that has no leadership. So we started doing a prayer and fasting once, if not twice a month, where they came at 6 a.m. on a Sunday and they gave up almost the whole day until 4 p.m. We fasted together, we prayed together, we opened the Bible, and we just did Bible study together. And we have 12 to 14 sometimes show up to these and learn more so that they can share it with somebody else. Nauta is also our center where all of the other pastors come in. And so we encourage them to come because it's so much easier to teach all of them at once than to visit them individually like we already are doing. We definitely go and we visit, we take supplies. When they all come in, it's exciting to see them together because you don't realize how isolated they are until they're together. And they get so excited about hanging out with somebody else who believes. And not only that, but somebody else who is also leading in their villages. So watching them together is just really cool because they are so separated. The river system is a good system, but it makes the trip longer. We have one road that runs from the biggest city of Iquitos to Nauta. And the only reason that road is there is because they needed to get ambulances from the main hospital in Iquitos to the clinic in Nauta. And that road takes about 2 hours. Before that road was put in, the river took 14 hours. Okay, so the rest of the Amazon, it takes longer to get anywhere because there are no roads. You have to take the river, you don't have an option. And these people, most of them live a day away from medical help, a day away from where they can trade goods in order to get what they need for their families and also to sell what they're growing on their property. Or sometimes they cut wood, specific woods that are special that they can sell. There's several different ways, but they're all seasonal. So there's nothing that's a good source of income. Always seasonal work that just helps you get by to the next season. You guys are starting to see this difference, right? This what could possibly become a hopeless situation for many. And this desperation for something. The hope of Christ is the absolute best thing we can offer. We also try to be very practical as well. Sharing the gospel, strengthening churches, but also serving the community. We take in water filters. We have tried several different programs. Some of them flop. When we don't do those, we try another one. Some of them shock us and do really, really well. Water filters did pretty well. Certain villages just are so excited about it because they have no access to any clean water. Other villages just don't care. And so it's harder to get into those that way. We also have dug a few wells. And we started a kids ministry program in each village. And that one, I was really excited to see how much it grew, how much it expanded. The ministry of kids, think about it, very little electricity, so that means no TV, a lot of those other things that kids absolutely love at home, they don't have. So most of them are out on the street or out in the bush, hanging out and playing outside. And when you have something special for kids, they show up out of the woodwork, and they all show up for whatever special thing. They are desperate to be cared about. And it's not that all their parents are bad parents, but they have 10 or 11 kids and they don't know where the food's coming from tomorrow. So the kids mostly range on their own, day in, day out. And older siblings take care of younger siblings. And they come and just get so excited about one simple little coloring sheet. They spend, if I let them, they'll spend an hour getting everything in the lines, no matter how old or young they are, they get it to be beautiful. And it's not just going to go in the wastebasket, it's going to go up on the wall at home, like a mural. Like they get so excited about the opportunity just to color. And don't get me started on stickers, I get really excited about those. But something for that. And when they have a good experience the first time, they keep coming back. We go into these villages and we've started a program in every single village. We have a church, whether it's in a house or in an actual church building. And we leave materials with 1 or 2 people from that village that keep it going every week. And it might not be perfect. They might not have, definitely don't have the same education that I or Pastor Lucy do. But they have a coloring sheet and a verse at the bottom, and they can tell the story because they have a Bible that I gave them. They can read section that went along with the picture. And that is a lesson. And the kids come, and bit by bit you hear about the moms coming because, oh, what are my kids doing? Where are they for this, whatever time every week? They come to check it out. And then before too long, we usually try and have some kind of special event where they sing a couple of songs and do their memory verse or whatever. And usually the dads will show up just out of curiosity and because their wife told them that their kids were doing something special. You got to show up for that, right? You've already reached out to a whole family because you started with the kids. So we're working on that program, and it really has been very effective. Some of our churches are 2/3 children, just absolutely packed. And then we start getting the adults that start coming in and seeing what their kids have already seen, that this is a place that cares. We've had one church that, this is also a good problem, we had to build onto within a couple of months of having built them a brand new church because they couldn't fit everybody inside. This is the kind of open door that God has offered us in the Amazon. So we're going to go to the slide 27. And if you don't mind, we're going to read that together. Matthew 5:14-16. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. I love this picture. One of our teams that came this summer took it, and I just thought, wow. And you can see the stars above it, and just how in almost no electricity, the fact that we had electricity in the church that night to be able to do a program and do some fun things, just it really was the city on a hill. Like everybody else in town could see the light in the church because there was no other light in the whole town. And I think we had to borrow somebody's generator and bring gasoline from out of town. Like we brought it with us because it's just not readily available. But it was a special event. They had a blast, and it just hit me how clearly our light shines there in such a dark, hopeless place. Going to the next one. So how can you guys help? I'm here to offer you guys an opportunity. I feel that God calls on the hearts of whoever he has to partner with us. And this is a group of United States churches, started with the Wesleyans, but it also includes a few non-denoms and other denominations now that are partnering with us to support these Wesleyan churches in Peru. So the first one you guys can do is pray. Please do. I really am serious. Prayer is very effective. It makes a difference. And the more we do it, and the more specific we are in our prayers, I believe God truly blesses that. You guys can please get one of my pamphlets in the back. On the inside, it has pictures of the churches. So you guys can pray over each specific church. I'm trying to be as specific as we can. I believe there's something like 16 churches there, and we have 2 that I haven't even visited yet because there's just not enough time. And then the other thing you guys can pray for, we started this new program. There are kids' pictures, and each child, when I took their picture, I told them that I was going to be bringing these pictures to the States, and I was going to be asking people to pray for them. You should see their eyes light up because they know the power of prayer. This kid's name is Angel, and he needs prayer. All of them do. They, to be honest with you, the reason we don't have the organization to do something like Compassion Child. And most of these kids, because their parents are semi-nomadic, I may never see Angel again because they may have moved to an entirely different town. But prayers can follow him wherever he goes. And each one of these kids knows that I'm bringing these for you guys, that you guys can pick somebody out to pray for. Every church I visit is taking, and we are going to get all of these kids prayed over. Please take one. I am a product of prayer. I truly believe that. My parents were missionaries, and one of the things that we had to do when we visited churches was not only raise funds, but also to raise prayer support. People that were willing to pray over us as missionaries, because Satan doesn't like what we're doing. And to just pray protection over us. And I want the same thing for these kids. I want them to be lifted up to God in prayer and protected, because Satan doesn't want them coming back to church. He doesn't want them to grow up to be lay pastors and open up new areas of the Amazon that have yet to be reached. Anyway, I'm just so excited about this program, and people are taking them, which you never know. You start these things and think it might be really cool or it might flop, but the power of prayer is absolutely incredible. God honors our prayers. The other thing you guys can do is give. We need not only funding for me to be able to go and to work there, but also for all of the programs, and to be able to bring in more supplies and books to build these churches, because most of them are still in house churches and they need an actual building because they just can't fit everybody inside their house anymore. And once we get these pastors trained up to keep these churches going on their own, we can then start reaching other villages that we have not reached before. Then the third one is go. And go, I know that not everybody can go to Peru. Not everybody's called to go to Peru. I definitely would not have gone if I had not been called. It is not an easy trip. And to be honest with you, no matter what I do to try and make the team's life easier, it's a tough camp out. But we are so blessed with our teams. They come and they do amazing work, and they just do whatever I ask them to do. And we make it do, and God protects us from everything that I can't even take care of. But I truly believe that wherever God plants you, He wants you to go outside of your comfort zone and say yes to Him at every turn. And it's incredible to see what God will do with that when you say yes, because that's been true of me my entire life. Every time I turned a corner and saw an open door, my parents raised me to walk through it. God opens a door, He offers you an opportunity, you take it. And when you take it, just kind of step back and watch what he does with your yes. So I encourage you, it doesn't matter how young or old you are, it doesn't matter if you are in a small town or a big city, you can make a difference, no matter where you are. But you have to leave your comfort zone. You have to step out in faith and say yes. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, Esther, I'd like to pray with you, if you don't mind, and excuse me. If you'd like to come up, please feel free. If not, just hold your hand out towards Esther as we pray together. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Esther, her obedience to you and the calling you have on her life. Pray, Lord, that as she gathers support, the prayer support, the financial support, the human resources support, Lord, that you would bless that endeavor as well. And as she prepares to go back to Peru, I think she said in June, I pray that you would open all the right doors for her. Bless her ministry and the ministry of those with whom she ministers, so that your light is truly shining in that dark corner of the world. We ask this all in Jesus' name. And God's people said, amen. Well, please join us for lunch. It's going to be good. Thank you for joining us on Zoom, and we'll see you next week.